What's going on, you guys? My name is Walid Azami. In this video, I'm going to show you how I created my own food photography backgrounds and how you can create it yourself also. And then at the end, like all of my videos, I'm going to show you how you can make money from this. So not just from photography, I'm going to show you an additional revenue stream and show you the final pictures. But first, where did I get this idea from? Because I think it's important to give credit for where you get ideas from. And I got it from this channel right here, The Bite Shot, run by Joanie Simon out of Phoenix, Arizona, or somewhere in Arizona. And her channel has helped me out a lot. So if you're watching this, you probably are familiar with The Bite Shot. And when I first got my clients in food photography, I just needed some basics and I wanted to follow a photographer who offered great tutorials. That became Joanie Simon. And funny enough, I was watching her YouTube videos and I kept thinking, can you be any more likable as a human being than Joanie Simon? She doesn't know me, but maybe she'll see this. Joanie, you're very, very likable. And thank you for this tutorial and all the tutorials that you do. I'm a fashion photographer. I do portraits, I do record covers, magazine shoots, and so I'm not this very well-trained food photographer. So it's important for you guys to see somebody that's not that trained in it, like me, and to watch hers, who is a total master in food photography, like The Bite Shot, and then compare and see where you're gonna land. You're probably gonna land closer to me than her at first. All right, first thing, one of the things that I did is I looked at Joanie's tutorial, listened to what she had to say, and I took notes on everything that she had to say. Then I went to my local Home Depot and I bought stuff based off of what she said, and then I, of course, took that and I tweaked it a little bit and I made it my own style. I encourage you guys to do that also, whether you watch her tutorial or mine. Tweak it and make it your own, make it special, make it part of your own branding, okay? And you're gonna mess up a little bit in the beginning, trust. I messed up a lot and I kept scraping it off and kept starting over, but that's part of the fun and that's part of the education of it all. Now, I went to Home Depot and you can see me shopping around here and I found some wood, I don't know what you call them, planks, pallets. It was about 3 feet by 3 feet, every single square. I bought mostly the thin ones, and then I bought one that was thicker, maybe about 2 fingers or 1.5 of my fingers. And I wanted to try out which wood was going to be better. One looked more like it was jam-packed powder wood, whatever you call that, what IKEA makes everything out of. And then one looked like it was bigger fibers. The thick one was unnecessary. Actually, the thin ones are just fine. I wasn't sure if the thin ones were gonna bow out a little bit or if they're gonna warp. They really are not. So you can stick with the thin ones. And I highly recommend that you guys get the same shape and the same width of every single wood if you're gonna do a bunch of backgrounds. The reason why is storing them is just so much easier. You can label them on the back, you can take a Sharpie right on the side and just say Greek beige cracked, terracotta colored semi-gloss, whatever it is that you understand, and then you just store them like library books. Libraries are these big houses with books, and books are these things we open up because everything's so digital now. So I bought like a big bucket of joint compound that was under maybe $12 from Home Depot. I got about $2 worth of these spackles that came in 2 or 3 sizes, and they're just plastic and they look like they're very, very, very single use, probably half use. And that's about it. I didn't spend money on anything else. I had extra paint from this tutorial right here that I made my own DIY muslin backdrop, and I had some extra gray paint from that. And then I also had in storage some beige kind of sunset color, and I took some of that. So you guys, if you have paint in the house, do that. If you don't want to buy a big bucket of paint, buy sample. I bought the little sample sizes for my backdrop, for the DIY muslin backdrop, and also for this. That's plenty of paint, and that costs about $3. Now, once I got home, what I did is I went in the backyard. It was a very, very warm day, and it's important not to do this in the hot sun like me, but Joanie had said, make sure that you're safe about it. See this? Listen to this video.
So this is the mom in me, this is how I roll. That I just have to tell you that if you attempt anything from this video, please promise me that you'll do it in a well-ventilated area, okay? I don't want anybody getting harmed because of noxious gases, okay?
She looks after you guys. That's what I mean, like she's so likable and so nice. I haven't given you guys a safety warning yet, but do listen to Joanie and go somewhere where it's well ventilated. So that's what we got. I picked up a bucket of joint compound. I bought some spackles, if that's what they're called. I already had some paint, and then I got, let me make sure I don't mess up the name, UV resistant clear acrylic coating. I bought that spray at the end, and I'm so glad that Joanie taught us that, because stains can really happen. Food that's greasy, you could put a donut down on this and it's got grease and then it stays there. So if you do some kind of acrylic coating, you at least have a chance of wiping it off fast before it sets a permanent stain. So don't cheap out on that and get the one that's also linked down below. Once I got home, I took out a trash bag. I didn't need to get a big tarp and waste money on that. I took out a trash bag, I opened it, and I taped it on the ground. I found like a bucket, and then I put a big piece of wood on top of it. How I applied it, I literally just took a gob of, and I was experimental with it. Do I do a little bit at a time? Do I put a big gob? I just put a whole gob of the joint compound on the wood. You can do it real thick, you could do it real thin. If you do it real thick, what will happen is you're gonna get very cracked, something that looks super aged. What could be a very cool look. If you do it very thin, you don't get as much texture. It dries out really fast too. You could do a second layer on it sooner. You can spray it with that clear coating sooner. It's all up to you. With every single wood, what I did is I did something. So with one wood, I actually painted the board gray first, and then I put a very, very, very thin layer of the joint compound, and then I took that spackle, and as I spread it, certain parts I went a little bit heavier with the edge, so that left a very thin coat of the joint compound, but it also exposed the gray paint underneath, so that gave it a really good weathered vibe. In fact, I wish I did more of that. For some of the wood, added some of the paint to the actual joint compound, and then I mixed it so it was unevenly mixed and it created a certain texture. I was kind of going blind, not gonna lie to you. The sun was so bright and I'm working on a white surface, so I would have added more paint of the beige if you're using a light color. And I did it, and I created a whole bunch, and I would take them and I would put them outside, and I think within, depending on the thickness of the joint compound, it would dry within 10 minutes or 20 minutes. The thickest one took 20 minutes, and I left it out in that hard sun, and it got this cracked vibe. I ended up really using that more and more because it has a definitive vibe. I've shot pizza on it. It just looks like something that was done in a clay oven outside in Greece, in Italy. Just make them really fun. You can have a lot of fun with these. And if you mess up, if you stain them, you just apply a little bit more joint compound on it and it looks more textured. So it depends on what you're going for. One of the things that I want you guys to watch out for when I did this is to make sure, because joint compound dries real fast, make sure that dust doesn't land on it. Make sure that a bug doesn't crawl on it. Things can land on it. So just make sure that you're in a place that diminishes the chances of it getting dirty or it falling over. Okay, that's what I did. I made 5 of these boards and I used them for my photo shoots. Next, I'm gonna go over 4 things that I learned in doing this that I would do things a little bit differently. Number 1, less is more on the joint compound. I thought I was just gonna have to like be very liberal about it and apply a whole bunch. No, a little bit goes a long way. So I don't think I even needed to buy that massive bucket. I could have bought something a lot smaller. Number 2, I would add more paint. So I used a very light paint that was beige, had a yellowish hint to it. You can barely see it. So in hindsight, I would have added a whole lot more of that. It would have given me more of a rusty vibe, or water stain from like rains from a long time ago. That's a lot better. So if you're gonna add paint, just add a little bit more to it. If you add too much paint, just put a little bit more joint compound on it and wash it out. Number 3, I learned it dries out really fast. So leave it out to dry in a flat area, not on its side. A couple of mine got a little bit slanty because they started coming down and then it started drying, so it kind of caked like this downhill thing. I saved it, but it was hard to save it. And also make sure that a lot of things don't land on it, like flies, bugs, leaves, whatever. Because it dries so fast, it could get stuck in there. It could be pretty cool, I don't know, but just know that it dries fast. And then number 4, this is one of my favorite ones, is learn to walk away. Nothing is ever completed. You're gonna go, Oh shoot, I wish I did this. You know, I can add a little bit more. Oh, let me add some more paint. Before you know it, it gets all muddy and it looks like garbage. So learn to walk away and tell yourself, okay, I have to let this expire. Like I'm gonna do each one for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and that's it. It is what it is. I'm gonna shoot with it, and then I can always go later, purchase more wood, or just go ahead and alter what I already have so I have different backgrounds. Those are like the 4 big things that I've learned. Everything else is, I mean, pretty common sense. So after it dried overnight, I took it outside per Joanie's request. I took it outside in a well-ventilated area and I sprayed all of them. In hindsight, I should have bought 2 cans instead of 1 and just did a really good even coat on all of them. They did help. I was able to wipe out some of the stuff in our photo shoots, but a couple of things did stain. So in hindsight, I would go back and buy a couple of those cans. And again, if you want that, the link is down in the description. Okay, so with every video, I show you guys how you can make money with some of the skills that I teach you. That's why I want you to subscribe down to this channel. And for this one, there are so many different people. Your mom and pop shops, they take pictures of food in some of the ugliest backgrounds. No, give them a background. Your local farmers market people that do their own dips and hummuses and things like that. That's important. They need a beautiful background for their props, for their food, to be able to showcase it the right way and to be able to charge adequately. And this is for their business. There are private chefs, there are private caterers, there are caterers that do weddings. They don't have time to take pictures, they don't have the facilities to take a beautiful picture. If you can sell pre-made, themed backgrounds, sell a bunch of them, packages of 4 or 5 or 3, you're going to be able to sell a lot of them. And I'll tell you why. You get a 3x3 wood, you buy a bunch of them, you find them somewhere cheap. If I was a private chef and I wanted to showcase the meals for that month's menu, I would buy it from you because I'm going to sell more food. If I photograph it in an appetizing way, you're going to do very well. Once one mom and pop restaurant get it, they're all going to get it. So this is something that you can do on top of your food photography. If you're making backgrounds, make it for everybody else, help everybody else elevate, and you make some money on the side. If you guys are interested in seeing some of the pictures that I took, those are up here. And as they're flipping through, I'm going to tell you to do 2 important things. Subscribe to this channel if you want to learn how to make money from photography, learn photo tips, tricks, lighting hacks, editing, retouching notes, any of that stuff. This is a channel you want to follow. I use a lot of the accomplishments from my career to help photographers. If you want my photographer's survival package, it's free. That link is right down below. You get an instant download and then a whole bunch of free downloads from there. And also check out this video if you want to see me making that DIY muslin canvas backdrop that I spoke about. And if I also linked you to the bite shots video, that's in the description of this video too. So thank you, Joanie Simon, for your amazing tutorial, and thank you for watching it. I'll see you guys next week.